this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. After 2 races on superspeedways, NASCAR would be making lefts and rights at the Circuit of the Americas. This year, the track will feature a new national course layout featuring a course that is 2.3 miles in length. Storylines would be, could the 18-year-old Connor Zilisch, could he sweep the field in the Xfinity and Cup Series, making his Cup Series debut? Or would it be any of the regulars, Shane van Gisbergen, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, would they be on top? Both Xfinity and Cup drivers would be looking to tackle the new layout. Have several topics on discussions with Dave, plus NASCAR History Time, featuring an interesting segment on an old race car Dale Earnhardt Jr. acquired. Plus an interview featuring a driver making his ARCA Series debut in Phoenix, Treyten Lapcevich. Predictions for Phoenix, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, a.k.a. Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He'll be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for on-track and midweek updates. Facebook and Instagram are both Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Moving right along to our trivia segment, this week's question is, of active drivers, who has the most road course wins all time in their career at the Cup Series level? Answer coming at the end. Now for the Xfinity Series recap. As expected, the 18-year-old road course phenom of Connor Zilisch would be on the pole. Zilisch would be able to pull up front and take the lead early, followed by Ross Chastain, who is driving the number 9 for Junior Motorsports in this race. After a quick yellow on lap 4, by lap 14, Zilisch would have a 3-second lead over Chastain in second. Just like clockwork on the road courses, on the closing laps of Stage 1 and Stage 2, most of the field would pit. The yellow would fly again with 2 laps to go in the first stage, while Zilisch was on pit road. William Byron on the Hendrick Motorsports 17 Xfinity car will go on to win the first stage. After the pit shuffle at the end of Stage 1, Taylor Gray and Jesse Love would restart the pack. After a yellow early, the rest of Stage 2 would stay green. Carson Capole, Jesse Love, Ross Chastain, William Byron, and Sheldon Creed would all be battling for the lead. Just like Stage 1, all the leaders would pit on the closing laps to help set them up for the final stage. Harrison Burton, who we had on the podcast 2 episodes ago, would go on to win Stage 2. After making up lost ground, Connor Zilisch would be back in the mix again. On the restart for the final stage, Zilisch would get into the back of teammate Carson Capole, pushing Carson up the track, handing the lead to Austin Hill. With 11 laps to go, both Capole and Zilisch would be racing each other hard for the lead after each passing Hill. With 8 laps to go, Capole would have his front tires smoking, but still holding off Connor Zilisch. A lap later, they would make contact with Connor taking the lead. With 4 laps to go, Capole would have to pit with issues on his right front tire. Connor Zilisch would go on to win the race. I know not the way he would have liked to win with pushing his teammate out the way, but they are both young drivers and they will learn from this. Congratulations to Connor on the win. Moving right along, now the Cup Series recap. After qualifying, the 2 2311 cars would be on the front row with Tyler Reddick on the pole, followed by Bubba Wallace. On the first turn of the race, there would be major fireworks. Tyler Reddick would lead. Ross Chastain would make a very aggressive dive bomb move on the inside, hitting and spitting Chase Elliott. Denny Hamlin and Todd Gilliland would get collected in this as well. The race would still stay green. Another major incident would occur shortly after on lap 4 after Ty Dillon pushed Austin Cindric up the track. Austin Cindric did not like that and would pay Dillon back a turn later, hooking him in the right rear and spinning him across the track. Again, the race would stay green. With a nice crossover move on Tyler Reddick, Shane van Gisbergen would take the lead, and Kyle Busch would follow in second. Just like the Xfinity race, many would pit with 3 or 4 laps to go in Stage 1 and Stage 2. The leader, Van Gisbergen, would pit with 3 laps to go. Bubba Wallace would go on to win the first stage. Van Gisbergen and Kyle Busch would restart the front row to start the second stage. Early on, SVG and Busch would exchange turns of the lead. Most of the leaders again would pit with laps to go in the stage. Ryan Preece would go on to win Stage 2. Early in Stage 3, an incident between Connor Zilisch and Daniel Suarez would occur, ending the 18-year-old Zilisch's day. Several laps later, after the restart, the drivers up front would start the pit. Van Gisbergen would be the last to pit on lap 74, completing the pit cycle for the field. Kyle Busch would retake the lead, followed by William Byron and Christopher Bell. With 17 laps to go, the yellow would fly for a crash involving Denny Hamlin and Austin Dillon. The pack would restart with 12 laps to go, with Kyle Busch and Byron on the front row. After turn 1, Bell would get past Byron for second. As the laps counted down, Kyle Busch's car would begin to fade, with Bell catching up. With 3 laps to go, Christopher Bell would pass Kyle Busch for the lead. Busch would fade after using his right rear up. Christopher Bell would win his second in just as many races. Congratulations to Joe Gibbs Racing and Christopher Bell. Quick look back at the predictions we made. Xfinity, winner for Connor Zilisch. Cup Series went with Shane van Gisbergen. He was up front for a while, but finishes 6th in the 88. Shout out to Fast Davies Bets. The Sam Mayer top 3 prediction was plus 400, and that hit with Mayer finishing 3rd on Saturday. Now for discussions with Dave. Our first topic, how was the new track setup for COTA? The new national track setup, I think, is so much better than the course they raced on the last 2 years. Taking out that long, boring part of the track, which was about a mile long, obviously the circuit was shrunk in distance and more laps needed to be added to both races, but that just created so much better racing. At the end of that race, it was the best finish of the season. Just world-class passes by Van Gisbergen and world-class racing by Kyle Busch and Christopher Bell at the end. I really hope they keep the national course set up for more COTA races to come. Next topic on discussions with Dave. Live Fast Motorsports taps Catherine Legg for her Cup Series debut at Phoenix. Saw her at the ARCA practice and again in Daytona. Catherine Legg will make her Cup Series debut driving the number 78 Chevy. Catherine will be the first woman to enter a Cup Series race since Danica Patrick made her final start in the 2018 Daytona 500. Legg has made 5 NASCAR Xfinity starts, the most recent in 2023 at Road America. The 44-year-old veteran has also competed this season in the opening race for the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona, where her day was ended by an early crash. Sunday's effort at Phoenix marks an expansion of Live Fast Motorsports' 2025 schedule. The team had previously announced a partial Cup Series slate consisting of 7 races, all 6 events on drafting-style tracks, plus the Coca-Cola 600 in May. McLeod failed to qualify for this year's Daytona 500, then placed 22nd at Atlanta the following weekend. Legg completed in a partial schedule of the IndyCar and IMSA events last year. She also branched off into dirt track racing this year with an entry in the Chili Bowl Nationals. We will see what Catherine can do at the Cup level, and best of luck to her. Our next topic, Connor Zilisch learning lessons for the young driver. We know he is fast in that Xfinity car on a road course. He showed that when he had to drive through the field. But he was a little bit too aggressive and driving that car a little bit too hard when he could have been a little bit smoother, especially when he took out his teammate Carson Capol going for the lead at the end of the race. Luckily, this happened in an Xfinity Series race, and that is expected to be a development division. Connor Zilisch is 18 years old. He has showed how fast he can be on a road course, but by no means he's going to be a Jeff Gordon right off the bat. He will learn from this and definitely get more starts at the Cup Series level. The last 2 topics of discussions with Dave are rulings from NASCAR. First one, let's dive right into it. Appeals panel rescinds severe NASCAR penalty issued to Chase Briscoe and Joe Gibbs Racing. Chase Briscoe and Joe Gibbs Racing would have their penalties rescinded this past Wednesday by the National Motorsports Appeal Panel. The decision means that Briscoe gets his 100 points and 10 playoff points back after NASCAR penalized him for a spoiler violation after the Daytona 500. The team also gets its 100 points and 10 playoff points back as well. Crew Chief James Small's 4-race suspension will be rescinded, as well as the $100,000 fine to the team. Briscoe is now tied for 14th in the season standings with Carson Hocevar. Both have 72 points heading into Phoenix's race. Briscoe is 1 point ahead of Kyle Larson, who is 16th in the standings. The panel stated the panel believes that the elongation of some of the holes in the number 19 Cup car spoiler base is caused by the process of attaching that specific spoiler base to the rear deck and not modification of the single source part. So in the end, Joe Gibbs Racing appeals it and they win that appeal. That is huge as they get their team points and Briscoe gets his driver points back, putting him right back in the mix. The last topic of discussions with Dave, NASCAR penalizes Austin Cindric for the incident at COTA. After his incident on lap 4, right hooking Ty Dillon, sending him spinning, NASCAR would issue a 50-point penalty and fine Cindric $50,000. NASCAR officials have stated that they will not tolerate drivers hooking competitors in the right rear to spin them because of the potential hazards of such of an incident. The penalty drops Austin from 11th to 35th in the standings going into Phoenix. Last July, NASCAR fined Carson Hocevar $50,000 plus 25 points for intentionally wrecking Harrison Burton. Hocevar hooked Burton in the right rear while under caution at Nashville. NASCAR wants to keep their penalties for rough driving consistent to keep that out of the sport. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Moving right along to yellow flag, green flag. Yellow flag Xfinity, tough luck and a tough pill to swallow for the driver, the number 4, Parker Redsloff. He would fail to qualify for the race in COTA. We were able to interview Parker in Daytona. He's on a new team this year, Alpha Prime Racing, and hopes to turn things around after finishing 29th in Daytona and 27th in Atlanta. Green flag Xfinity, Connor Zilisch. All the Xfinity pressure was on him to win the race, especially after getting the pole. How many wins will Zilisch have at the road courses this season? Yellow flag Cup Series, tough start for the season for Ty Gibbs after finishing 32nd in Daytona and 16th in Atlanta. Ty finishes 34th last Sunday in COTA. Green flag Cup Series, Noah Gragson with his best finish of the season and first top 10, finishing 8th at COTA. Now for NASCAR history time. Dale's old car is back to Junior. Like a lot of NASCAR fanatics, I typically tune in to Dale Jr.'s Download. The episode after Daytona, he received an old car of his father's, which he acquired, and has a cool story to it. Junior said, I had a surprise today. There was a gentleman that owned a race car that was a Richard Childress Racing Dale Earnhardt car from the 90s, and he passed away and willed it to me. The car is here today, and for the very first time, I'm so very thankful for that. What an incredible surprise. It was an RCR car still with the original orange interior. Dad raced it somewhere. Junior also noted that the car was likely in Ireland at some point. Yes, there was a NASCAR team at one point based in Ireland in the 90s. So the car traveled across the world and then it came back to Dale Jr. Junior revealed that the individual who originally purchased the car had removed the original hood, which was the last configuration Senior used. But interestingly, the hood had been stored at Junior's uncle's garage for 40 years. When his uncle decided to clear up his belongings, Junior acquired the hood, and now he possesses the entire car that once bore the original hood. Thought this was a very cool story and wanted to share. Now the second topic for NASCAR history time, Phoenix through the years. 1988, in the first NASCAR Cup Series race at the track, Alan Kulwicki earns his first series win and drives clockwise around the track, coining the move, the Polish victory lap. 2012, perhaps the most visually memorable moment at Phoenix Raceway came late in 2012 with Clint Bowyer deep in the hunt for his first title, sprinting through the garage area to confront Jeff Gordon. The pair had an on-track run-in that effectively took Bowyer out of title contention, and a fracas ensued as the two drivers and the crews tussled. 2015. Rain came at a perfect time for Dale Jr. in the November 2015 race in Phoenix. Earnhardt came to pit road for fuel and tires 1 lap before a wreck on 196. While on pit road, Earnhardt crossed the scoring line on the flag stand before Kevin Harvick, who had dominated the race with 143 laps led that day. Earnhardt inherited the top spot before the track workers could clean up from the wreck. Rain began to pour and the race was canceled. The win turned out to be Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s last Cup Series win. And that wraps up this episode's edition of NASCAR History. Now for ARCA Series preview. This Friday night, the ARCA Menard Series and ARCA Menard Series West will unite for the running of the General Tires 150 at Phoenix. Friday's event will mark the 5th time the two series have come together to compete at Phoenix, dating back to the first such event in 2021, which was won by Ty Gibbs. Other winners of the annual combination race include Taylor Gray, Taylor Reif, and William Sawalich. When it comes to momentum, no drivers have more of that than Brandon Butterbean Queen and Trevor Huddleston, because they both opened the 2025 season with victories in their respective division. Huddleston kicked off the 2025 ARCA Menards West Series with a win January at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway. Queen, as we know, recently won the ARCA Menards Series first race in Daytona. Both drivers will look to add another trip to victory lane. A stacked field of 30 more competitors will be looking to deny them another checkered flag. Among them is Brett Cruz, who will be piloting the number 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Also entered are the 4 Venturini Motorsports cars of Isabella Robusto, Wallace Allen, Patrick Strompoli, and Treyten Lapcevich. West Series team Central Coast Racing will have entries in the field for Tanner Reif and Adrian Farah. Rev Racing's LeVar Scott will continue his pursuit of his first ARCA platform win, and Tyler Reif, who won Phoenix in 2023, will be on the field on board of the number 23 Sigma Performance Service Chevrolet. Other notable names entered in Friday's race include Corey Day, Thad Moffitt, Ryan Vargas, Jason Kitzmiller, Kyle Keller, Cole Raz, Andy Jankowiak, Jake Bowman, Eric Johnson Jr., Adrian Farah, and Robbie Canali, among others. Would be able to talk to driver Treyten Lapcevich, who would be making his ARCA debut in Phoenix. Here's what Treyten had to say. Have driver Treyten Lapcevich called into the show. Treyten, saw you at Florence for the South Carolina 400. Congratulations on that win at the end of last season. And again during the ARCA practice in Daytona in January. You're making your ARCA Series debut in Phoenix Friday night, driving the 15 car for Venturini. How are you feeling, and do you have any expectations?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. Obviously the Venturini Motorsports team been around for a really long time in the ARCA Series, and if you're gonna make your debut with anyone, they would definitely be one at the top of the list there. So I'm confident that they're gonna bring a fast race car. I'm really thankful to have the support of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship and Evram to allow me to pursue this opportunity. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. I've obviously never been to Phoenix, don't have any laps on the track, so it's all pretty much just going off a sim and what I can see on videos and whatnot. But it should be a lot of fun, and really excited to get to the track on Friday.
Hey, 10-4, awesome. You've raced in some pretty big races with packed fields before. A 34-car field entered currently for Phoenix. Do you think your past experience on the Cars Tour and the NASCAR Canadian Tour will help you on Friday?
Yeah, I think so. With the big field like that, it's probably it's going to be important to qualify up front. you can kind of see off the past races at Phoenix and the ARCA series there that sometimes passing becomes tough, especially when everyone gets packed up and it's tough to get clean air on the nose. So there's definitely going to be a big focus on qualifying, and see if we can start up front would be really nice. If not, I think that the speed in the car probably won't be an issue, passing some cars up and getting up to the front.
Gotcha. You mentioned it with the sim. The 1 mile track of Phoenix can have some interesting restarts on the low bank turns. What have you been doing to prepare for the restarts and the race as a whole?
Yeah, for the restarts, it's really just trying to look at the videos from past races. It's not really not a whole lot you can do on the sim to prepare for the restarts, but we know that it's going to be hectic. They always seem to be that way. So from what I can see, it's really important to be aggressive on the restarts. You don't want to get sucked into a hole and get taken advantage of in that aspect. I think it's really easy to lose a lot of spots on a restart here. And you just pretty much got to be on offense instead of trying to be on defense at that point. So as for the track itself, been able to do some sim leading up to it, and I think that's going to help and give me a pretty fair idea of what to expect come Friday when I get in the car for the first time.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds like you got a solid mindset going in. Unfortunately, friend of the podcast and fellow Canadian driver Chase Pintano didn't have a chance to show the speed of the 15 in Daytona with the qualifying getting rained out. Seems like you already have a great relationship with VMS. How do you expect the car to be throughout qualifying and into the race?
Yeah, I'm thinking that we're probably going to have a pretty good piece. The whole Daytona thing there was super unfortunate, just kind of a circumstance of the rain.
Tough one for Chase
really
there,
in that sense, but yeah, for sure. Chase is one of my buddies out of Ontario. There, we'd done some racing together, so definitely hated to see that. But I'm hoping that he'll be able to get back in the car here at some point this year. But no, I think that they're probably bringing a pretty good piece to the racetrack. We get a little bit of practice there on Friday to really try and fine tune it. I think the first portion of that practice just be kind of getting the line down pat and making sure I'm comfortable around the track, and then I think we'll have a pretty good base to start off with, and maybe just some fine tuning heading into qualifying in the race.
Okay, sounds good. Makes sense. You raced the Chevy on the Canadian Tour and on the Cars Tour. How has it been jumping into a Toyota for Venturini?
It's exciting for sure. I've when you talk about sim, was able to go to TRD and do that. They have a lot of great resources that we're able to build off of, and I know they provide a lot to Venturini as well. So. It's been a really great group to work with. Looking forward to developing that relationship going forward, and seeing what else we can do this year and into the future.
Heck yeah, awesome! Thanks so much for your time, and good luck on Friday.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for Treyten calling in. Best of luck to him on Friday. Now for Fast Davies bets. Xfinity Series, Sheldon Creed top 3 is plus 300. Think he should be there. Cup Series, he's been a part of the Fast Team Penske cars in Phoenix, just doesn't have the championship win there yet. Austin Cindric is plus 700 for a top 5 finish. Don't think that's too far of a reach. Drivers to look out for in Phoenix, Xfinity and Cup. Xfinity, after having wins in the last 2 Fall Phoenix's races, then Stuart Haas with Riley Herbst and Cole Custer. But now Haas Racing drivers of Sam Mayer and Sheldon Creed should be fast there. After winning the championship last year in a backup car, expect Justin Allgaier to rebound from a slower start this season. Eric Amarola jumps back in the seat for Joe Gibbs Racing Xfinity program. He should be there at the front as well. Cup Series, Penske. They've won the last 3 championships, and that has come in part from their dominance at Phoenix. Expect all 3 drivers, Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano, to be fast. Can Christopher Bell make it 3 wins in a row, or can a Hendrick car of Larson, Elliott, or Byron steal the show? Here are our predictions for Phoenix. ARCA. After the ARCA West race ran with one set of tires and the ARCA National Series ran at Daytona, it's hard to make comparisons. A lot of good options, but a lot of unexperience. Expect Brent Cruz to be up front in the Joe Gibbs Racing equipment, but if the cat is truly out of the bag for the 28 Pinnacle Racing car, give me back-to-back wins for Bean Nation, Brandon Butterbean Queen. Xfinity, Eric Amarola getting back to the Xfinity seat with Joe Gibbs. Think he will do it on Saturday. Cup, give me that Team Penske number 12, Ryan Blaney. Think he gets it done in Phoenix on Sunday. This brings us to the end of this week's episode. Now it's for trivia answer time. This week's question is, of active drivers, who is the most road course wins all time their career at the Cup Series level? Answer is Chase Elliott with 7. Road America in 2021, Circuit of the Americas in 2021, Charlotte Roval in 2019 and in 2020, Daytona Road Course in 2020, Watkins Glen with wins in 2018 and 2019. As always, we are sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, a.k.a. Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram and Facebook are both Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope everyone has enjoyed this episode and gets a chance to watch all 3 races from Phoenix this weekend. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.